Yeah, good morning to you, Jeff. Let's start first with the headline that we're seeing here on the ground in South Korea. The local press hailing the Singapore summit as the dialogue of the century, the negotiation of the century. And there's no question there's a lot of optimism going into these talks over in Singapore, especially where we are at the inter-Korea border. As you well know, just a few kilometers from the DMZ, the 38th parallel that has been that dividing line between North and South Korea for well over 60 years now. The South Koreans certainly feel like they are in a better position going into the summit, given that President Moon Jae-in has really orchestrated the U.S. and the North Koreans to come to the table. Remember, it was earlier this year, Moon Jae-in extending that invite to the North Korean delegation to take part in the Pyeongchang Olympics that began this engagement process. Since then, we've seen that inter-Korea summit between the North and the South, just a few kilometers from here. And President Moon Jae-in has been able to muster a lot of public support here on the ground in the process, well over 70% approving of the way he has handled the North and South Korea issue. It's been a different story over in Japan, where Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been battered by a domestic scandal, and he faces some credibility issues, largely because he has been the one country that has not had a direct line to Pyongyang and has not had much of a dialogue in terms of Japan's input. What Japan is looking for on the issue of denuclearization is that CVID acronym we keep hearing about: complete, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement. In addition to that, he wants the issue of human rights raised as it relates to those Japanese abductees, those who were abducted by North Korea. Now, he has said that Japan will not give any economic concessions unless those two issues have been raised. But he's also been at odds with President Trump about it, who at his most recent visit to the White House made it very clear that Japan essentially won't get a free ride in any kind of discussion here in trying to ease tensions on the Korea Peninsula. So there's no question there are moving pieces here, a very strong divide between the U.S. allies, South Korea, as well as Japan. Now, I want to step back here a bit to talk about what's happening over in North Korea, because while we have heard a lot from Kim Jong-un and, of course, the state-run media, KCNA, we haven't heard a lot from the North Koreans themselves, largely because the country has been so shut off. But we had a chance to speak with Jeffrey See earlier. He runs a nonprofit organization called the Chosun Exchange. They have been engaged in training potential business leaders over in North Korea for well over a decade now, giving us some insight about his most recent trip to North Korea, during which Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was there, saying the kind of excitement the North Koreans feel as this summit is about to take place. Take a listen.
The North Koreans we talked to are all, one, very excited about what was happening with South Korea, and also what could potentially happen with the U.S. Some of them were kids when Madeleine Albright first visited North Korea, so they clearly understand how important this is and potentially what kind of breakthrough this could be.
Jeffrey See there from Chosun Exchange also adding that he was quite surprised at the kind of positive image a lot of North Koreans he spoke to on the ground had about President Moon Jae-in. And I think, Jeff, that really speaks to the kind of engagement and how that has shifted the sentiment in the process. The question is going to be, well, what can this lead to more concrete changes on the issue of denuclearization? That's going to be the big question going into tomorrow.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.